and that is with more, and of course not to use it as a bait signal with saying it, in the wrong context, but more states' rights. We don't need a bunch of federal fools to tell us how to think and act. And these secessionist movements are going to take hold, we believe, more and more, and that we're going to start moving into something that resembles what the United States used to look like, as this other force, as you well articulate, is trying to push us in another way.
So, as Ron Paul agrees with you, this is a key time because, as Lenin said, there are times in history, to paraphrase, when more happens in a month than happened in 10 years. We're in that time when society is unfrozen from the status quo, and it can be changed for the good or it can be changed for the worst. The establishment has seen this coming, is prepared, wants to try to bring in a total tyranny, but it's going to be so unpopular, no matter how fancy they build up a front man, no matter how much celebrity they put into it. At the end of the day, when somebody's hungry or losing their house, or doesn't have a job, or just got mugged, the bull is not going to work anymore.
That's right. This is, again, the presidential reality show. And shows start losing their ratings after a while when they turn bad. And again, that's all this is. This is, it's celebrity. And it's going to lose its veneer. And, by the way, one of the ways that I built my reputation was one of my first early books, Trend Tracking, that I actually wrote in 1988. I had predicted the rise of a third party. This is a time when only 13% of the Americans believed so. And I also mentioned Ross Perot as the probable candidate. For some reason, I don't know why I brought his name up at that time. And I think I'm totally in agreement with Ron Paul that there's going to be that transition period when people say, we've had enough of both of these people. And it will be but will the candidate emerge? As much as I admire Ron Paul, he lacks that celebrity kind of thing that's so important in a society as thin as America.
He doesn't have the charisma. He doesn't have the charisma.
Exactly. But someone else can.
That's amazing. Going back, though, to pick your brain a bit more, Barack Obama is already betraying most of his stances. He's thrown a few bones, but they're hollow. We'll look in a year at closing Guantanamo, but we're going to keep indefinite detention. That's because that policy is defeated. That move for us to accept all this was defeated. So now he has to at least partially repudiate it. But when you look at what he's doing, it is hollow. Meanwhile, the main international takeover by the banks openly announcing they're going to have an offshore world bank that sets world regulations and controls the nations, when it's the very bankers that engineered all of this now posing as the saviors. I know they've got the power and they're going ahead by executive fiat. When we talk about a federal government, it's not even a federal government now. It's internationally controlled. It's been hijacked by foreign private interest. How do we telegraph that message to the public?
It's a very difficult message to telegraph, and the public won't understand it, the general public. It needs to happen on more basic levels, the bread and butter issues. And I think there's going to become a point when they keep trying to squeeze more and more out of the little people, where it becomes a time when the revolt begins. It's not going to happen through an education of something like that, because it's too arcane for most people to either understand or accept, because most people are only fed sound bites of information upon which they make decisions on. So that's very important in the communication aspect. It's too big an issue for them to swallow.
States, like another corporation, has had a violent corporate takeover by an outside group. People don't know that big corporations spy on each other and have private mercenaries and own their people in governments. They don't understand that that's what the New World Order is. It's private group of corporations, robber barons, setting up their own world government and hijacking nations through payoffs. And I wish the public could figure that out. What's so complex, Mr. Celente?
It's beyond them. They don't want to believe it. Number one, they would they think of these things as conspiracy theories. They've been indoctrinated all their lives through the college industrial complex. to all think alike. So they would never, this is way beyond their grasp of understanding. I mean, how many people really know that the major issue in the United States politics throughout the entire 1800s was about the central bankers taking over the country?
Gerald Celente, ladies and gentlemen. The website is Trends Research. One word, trendsresearch.com. We'll put it up on screen at prisonplanet.tv during the break. We're going to come back, sir, and get more into solutions, and then your phone calls. I'm Alex Jones. This is the GCN Radio Network.
Do you understand how dark it is? How far down the line we are? How late it is?
Hi, this is Ted Anderson. Have you ever wondered why banks, stockbrokers, investment advisors won't talk about gold for your IRA? The financial industry refuses to recognize the value of real hard assets for your retirement. The truth be told, gold and silver has outperformed paper investments like stocks, bonds, and CDs, yet no word about IRAs. Perhaps the financial institutions want to maintain control of your assets by keeping you in paper. If you'd like to take a look at gold for your retirement, call 800-686-2237. Don't get left behind by rising inflation and low return on your paper investments. Call 800-686-2237. Make sure that you secure your future. Call 800-686-2237. That's 1-800-686-2237.
Gerald Celente, the top trends forecaster in the world, is our guest. Gerald, what else do you see on the horizon since we talked to you a month ago? I know a lot has unfolded. What do you see on the military front with Pakistan, Afghanistan, Iraq? We know Obama's announcing 30,000 more troops to go to Afghanistan. Those troops basically be replaced in Iraq with Army forces. They're saying get ready for a lot higher casualties. Is this part of what Biden said was going to be so unpopular, or is that going to be some type of bank devaluation coming up?
Well, on the geopolitical front, what we're most concerned about is Israel and Iran. As we know now, as reported and confirmed by the New York Times, Israel had asked the Bush administration for bunker-busting bombs to attack the Iranian nuclear facilities. If such an act ever occurs, if either the United States or Israel attacks Iran, it will be the beginning of World War III. This is not Iraq. And any person of history knows that Iran fought Iraq between 1980 and 88 in a war funded by the United States on the Iraqi side. And they didn't give up 1 inch of territory to Iraq, and they lost over 1 million people in the process. These are the Persians. They're not going anywhere. And anybody that thinks they're going to wipe out 70 million people, they're out of their minds. This could be the beginning of it will be the beginning of World War III. That's our major concern. And what happened during the Israeli war on Gaza, we saw that Obama didn't say one peep about it. Although he spoke plenty about the economy and other issues during the same time.
And now they're being very secretive in press conferences, and Hillary just signed a deal with Israel saying that they will back them basically going up against Iran last week.
That I didn't know, and so that's more information and more news too. That's very sobering, because if this happens, there's no winning. And for Israel to be bragging that they took a beating against Hezbollah in Lebanon in 2006, but they showed their bones by wiping out just about defenseless people in the Gaza. I mean, they're not going to fight and win against Iran. It's not going to happen. So that's our major concern right there. And again, this isn't about who you like, who you don't like. These are just facts. I like to, we were talking before the break about the takeover, the corporate takeover. I have a quote in my book, Trends 2000, from Abraham Lincoln. You may be familiar with this, but it's very apropos for the times. Quote, "The money power preys upon the nation in times of peace and conspires against it in times of adversity. It is more despotic than monarchy, more insolent than autocracy, more selfish than bureaucracy. I see in the near future a crisis approaching that unnerves me and causes me to tremble for the safety of my country. Corporations have been enthroned. An era of corruption will follow, and the money power of the country will endeavor to prolong its reign by working upon the prejudices of the people until the wealth is aggregated in a few hands and the republic is destroyed.
And that's exactly what we see happening today at a scale never before even dreamed.
Exactly. And that's why I was saying that this concept is too big for the people to really embrace and understand.